So now we're at the 38-minute mark of the show, and I'm about to reintroduce the guest. From this point on, you'll notice that approximately every 7 to 8 minutes, I'm doing a reintroduction of the guest to the viewers that serves a couple of purposes. First is pattern interruption, changing the flow of the interview. Second is a clear place for the editing team to know where to start in creating a clip. And third, it allows me to give some shout outs, engage with the audience, introduce a call to action by saying, please like, love, share this video on your Facebook feed with all your friends. So when my editor hears this line, they know that's really the beginning of a new clip and to start the editing process until they hear it again. At which point you want them to cut the clip. Now, this is a point where I reintroduce the guests using their bio, and oftentimes I say who they help and how they help them, which reinforces their authority, positioning, and enables me to connect with the audience who may be looking for someone just like this person to help them out. Now, this is one of my goals of the show, introduce guests to a new audience in hopes that they will get more exposure and eventually more business. So what I'm doing right now is I'm dissecting the John A. McCabe Show segment by segment by segment. So every time I get to this piece is where I'm reintroducing the guests. I'm typically saying the same thing over and over for several reasons. One, we always have a new audience coming in and out. So every 7 to 8 minutes, I need to reintroduce the guest to the new audience. And again, as I mentioned, it's a pattern interrupt and it's a clear place for my editor to cut. So if you have any questions you want to ask me, please feel free to type them in the comment section. And if I can't get to them during the show, I'll definitely answer them at the end of the show, after the end of the show has already been aired. So now's the time I'll go and look at the Facebook feed on my phone and see if anyone else has joined me, see if there's any comments or questions. And the problem with looking at it on my phone is I don't always I can't always see every single person that's actually watching the show. Sometimes I see their name appear. A lot of times the number of people watching is different than the number of names that I actually see down below. So sometimes it's funny like that. So I can only acknowledge the people that I can actually see their names. And if there's any questions or comments in there, I'll typically read them. Now's a good time that I actually read them out and we answer them before we get into the next questions. I actually had one show where there were so many questions, I ended up, getting rid of the entire show itself, the show structure, and I did keep an eye on the time. So every 7 to 8 minutes, I actually checked the time and I would do the reintroduction. But the entire show was just nothing but Q&A. So my entire structure, my strategy of, taking the viewer on that journey to the end conclusion was thrown out the window. However, because it was all about Q&A and we were giving so much value, it was a coaching show that I did with a coaching friend of mine, Joey Ragona. Because we were giving so much value to the audience, they were just loving it. There was more engagement on that show than a lot of shows I've actually done. So